friends to help me come up with something funny to say when I came out on stage, just kind of release the tension. They failed utterly. There's a reason that Region 8 didn't win humorous, too. It was 3 o'clock in the morning as we sat next to the fireplace. Looking me in the eye, my friend Hope told me quietly, "Katie, I've tried to kill myself 13 times. So many attempts to take her life, yet nothing had worked. At least, nothing yet." Isaac and I were talking early in the morning when he told me about his past. As a teenager, he lived a double life, deceiving his parents and hiding things became habit. Not because he didn't believe in God or morality, but because as a 16-year-old, his parents weren't listening. His mom and dad told him how to think, act, live, but that was their life, not his. Savannah was fine on the outside, but inside, her world was chaos. She cried out silently, but nobody heard. When the pain of life became too much to bear, she took out a knife and cut her wrist until warm blood flowed. Pain shot through her body, tears rolled down her cheeks, but if for only a moment, the internal wounds that occupied every waking moment disappeared. Would you be surprised if I told you that each one of these young people is a Christian, is homeschooled, and is an NCFCA student or alumni? Today we're going to talk about us. Today we're first going to talk about broken teens who've walked dangerous paths, some surviving, some not. We're going to talk about double lives, and secondly, we're going to take a look at 3 lies. Lies from an enemy who comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Last year, I felt alone and unloved. I felt like nothing I did was really good enough, and my parents didn't really care about me. For months, I secretly struggled with depression, and dark thoughts led me to the point of wanting to kill myself. I put on a show, I hid my emotions, and nobody knew. Not my mom, not my dad, not even my best friend. At the same time, another young man from my speech and debate club also found himself desperate inside. To the outside world, everything was fine. He was excelling as a debater, even qualified to nationals like this, except last year. He always wore a smile. He was known for making others laugh, but on May 23rd, this young man took his father's gun, left home, and never came. Justin's body was found by neighbors a few hours later. Like so many others, he was silently crying out in anguish, never to be heard. These stories aren't unique, and we are not the exceptions. In fact, I run a blog called Through Purple Lenses, where I tell the stories of these students and many others. You see, every 15 minutes in the United States, 12 people will attempt to take their life. One will succeed. According to the World Health Organization, that means 3 have tried since I started this speech. Out of every 2 teenagers, 1 of them has considered suicide. 50% of us. There's 500 students in this room right now. Statistically speaking, 250 of the students surrounding you have thought about ending their own lives. When you look around this room, you see us with our cheery, smiling faces, all dressed up and looking sharp, masquerading as though everything is fine, but please don't be deceived. Life is painful. For us teens, pain comes in the form of lies. Where do lies come from? Quite simply, Satan. No matter how many walls and boundaries are set, the greatest enemy still has constant access to our hearts and minds. But how? How do we get from failing a test to suicidal thoughts? Jenny Speed, founder of Wit Ministries, explains it this way. Satan takes a little bit of truth and mixes it with a lie. So the truth that you failed to do something becomes the lie that you're a failure. Then once you believe that lie, Satan returns as the accuser and says, because you're a failure, nobody cares about you. Nobody cares if you live or die. The first lie provides guilt and shame. But the second lie is unbearable. Feelings of rejection, stupidity, and failure are easy to come by and hard to reconcile. How should we deal with these emotions? As teens, we don't know, so we bury it. We hide behind fake or pseudo-pain instead of dealing with the real problem. Psychologist Dr. Catherine Cook wrote in her blog, when events are excessively painful, instead of facing them and feeling genuine pain, We often deflect distress into pain that seems understandable and controllable, like that of self-injury. Anorexia, bulimia, cutting, depression, suicidal thoughts, gaming addictions, all of these things are controllable even when the rest of life isn't. John 10:10 tells us that a thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy, to steal the kids, usually in the halls and student centers, to kill students in schools across America, to destroy the teens that she loved and their futures. Mark Craven's founder of Real 3 Ministry says most lives boil down to 3 fears: rejection, insignificance, and failure. Rejection. Have you ever heard your teens say, "I don't have any real friends, I'm all alone, I don't fit in"? It's an easy lie to believe our age. After all, it's an awkward age. We don't really fit in with our friends. We don't feel accepted by our families. We don't feel entitled to our own ideas, opinions, and creative tendencies, so we simply have 2 lives, one at home in the perfect world, and one that you parents don't know about. How will this manifest in our lives? Anorexia, bulimia, gaming addictions, or any other form of escapism. So parents, how do you fight against this lie? Try replacing rejection with reception. Build a listening environment. Since last spring, my mom has started asking me, "Katie, what do you need to hear me say?" I can look at her and say, "Mom, tell me you love me. Tell me I'm not alone. Tell me I'm pretty." Then she can reaffirm me with God's truth, and let me tell you what, that is pretty amazing. You can learn a lot by asking that one simple question: what do you need to hear me say? But secondly, we have to know to find compassion and forgiveness when we come to you. You must tell us that it's safe to confess. Show us what that looks like, and we'll soon learn to seek it out. Have you ever heard your teens say, "Nothing I have to say is important, nobody understands me, I'm stupid, nobody loves me"? The second lie is that of insignificance. They believe they're unloved and unwanted. This lie goes back to unmet expectations. We have such a desire to please you and for you to be proud of us. Because of that, we set unachievable expectations and expect ourselves to live up to them. We expect perfection from ourselves because we think you expect perfection from us. Jamie in high school used to cut when she expected too much from herself. Her internal emotions escalated, and with nowhere to turn, she felt trapped. She subdued the real pain of feeling inadequate with the pain of metal scratching her skin. But nobody ever expected Jamie to be perfect. So parents, how do you combat this lie? Well, quite simply, we need you to be crystal clear in your expectations from us. You probably don't really expect your kids to be perfect, but when was the last time you told your sons and daughters that? Probably fine. Their perception of your expectations much higher than your real expectations have ever been. For cutters, their emotions build up and they cut, build up and they cut over and over again, but other teens bottle those emotions tight, carrying them all in their heart until they literally can't take it anymore. Have you ever heard your teens say, "I'm always wrong, why can't I just get it right?" The last lie is that of failure. There's so much pressure to be amazing, to save America, to change the world, and for many of us, failure is not an option. Pastor Chabegrum says to make it in this world, kids need to know how to fail. They need to know how to persevere for the hard-fought victories and handle disappointment when victory doesn't come. So parents, how do you combat this last lie? It might sound odd. It might sound very odd. But we need you to teach us how to fail. Show us how you handle the emotional pain. Remind us that God defines us, not our past mistakes. Show forgiveness and be vulnerable. Secondly, ask tough questions and be willing to listen. Military wives are instructed to ask their returning soldiers, "When was the last time you thought about hurting or killing yourself?" Aren't we in a battle too? When we respond, "Well, I don't know," don't accept it. Keep asking until you know you're hearing an honest answer. We might say never, but we might just say last night. When we do answer, go deeper and ask, "Did I do or say anything to make you feel that way?" And then please just listen. That short response at this moment determines if you never again get an honest answer. Isn't truth worth fighting for? Isn't hope worth fighting for? Aren't our lives worth fighting for? If you do nothing else today, please go home and talk to your kids. My friend Justin's parents don't ever get another chance. But you do. Will you take it?